You Security Director with Movement for Black Lives, pronouns. Yeah, and just really feeling really blessed, fortunate, tired. It's been a long week, but happy to see so many faces here. Yeah, this screening, it's a Know Your Rights video, collaboration between M4BL and CLEAR, myself, and Princess, who I'm going to ask to come up front to introduce herself. Her and I really worked on the treatment of it. We created the scenarios, and the actors improv all the dialogue. So it really just came together. It was filmed here in DC. The production company is local here to DC. And yeah, it was a really great experience and hope to do more. So we wanted to do the first screening of it here. It's about 20 minutes. But before that, Princess.
Oh, quick. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Princess Masulungan. I am a civil rights attorney by trade and formerly was a staff attorney at CLEAR, which, like Iman said, is the way that we kind of collaborated on this project. And yeah, just looking forward to having y'all see it, and hopefully it's helpful and provide some useful tools and tips for folks working in the movement.
Thank you.
Or it will. Oh, sorry. The projector from the we're just having a couple more
I don't believe that.
You can tell you're using water sources. Some water sources yeah, right. But they open it up the tap, put it in the bottle.
The company water actually is more dirty than the tap water.
Yeah.
Oh,
People Bring water in here.
And I gave people a spring sparkling water. Sparkling water from the spring. That's it. Let me drink that water. That's the water that Moses. That's the water that Moses drank. That's kind of
Hey y'all. So for folks that didn't hear, the projector system shut down. And so then we needed to reset it. And folks are doing that. So bye to the chat.
No, it's on a whole screen. Yeah, it's like starting soon screen.
And then I look at my
You
Squad is a coalition of different organizations, local organizations. tell situation when someone calls, what situation is needed, and if the person is available, who is actually trained in that crisis to respond. And the good part is that we can track the people that respond step by step by step to make sure that people are safe who's responding. And the good part is that we would never have less than 2 people respond to a crisis. So no one can never go to a crisis by themselves. Now with the DC Safety Squad, when I say we build an alternative to the policing, our coalition consists of, we have DC Medics, we have Cop Watch, we have legal observers, we have jail support, we have court watch, we have, y'all spit them out. We have mutual aid, we have encampment, we have HIPS, and which is tonight. And if any of you all would like some, I have knock-on, that what you should have for drug overdose, because we have HIPS, I'll name some of the organizations afterwards. We have me and Fivera, we just finished mental health, we're first aid mental health responders, where we certified for 3 years to respond to mental health crisis in DC. We just finished a 9-month safety and security school. Yeah. So we're able to come out and we're literally trained in safety and security, where we actually got trained up. No one in the DC Safety Squad would not respond to any of these crises without being totally trained. I know a lot of us say that, yo, I want to go out, I want to do this, but because we can harm our community in a way, instead of helping them when you're not trained to do that, especially like in mental health, like rape crisis, domestic violence, we're not built to where we want to be in domestic violence. We have a couple of people, but as of today, we're not responding to rape crisis or domestic violence to a certain degree, unless it's something like maybe in Virginia, or we know that that person is available. But because we don't have enough people trained on that, we would like to respond. But like I said, if you're not a rape crisis counselor or a person can respond to that, you can cause more harm than hurting that person. So we're not going to be responding to those. One other thing we do the de-escalation, domestic violence. We do have some that respond to domestic violence. But the only thing about the DC Safety Squad, we would not put out, because we're a team, there's no I in team, we will not put out our responders in harm's way. So therefore, if it's a situation we know someone got a gun on somebody and that they're holding that person like hostage or something like that, what we would do is send our cop watch team there. And our cop watch team will make sure that everybody try to be safe as possible, and that the person who may have that gun, civil rights are not violated while you try to de-escalate that situation, right? So we will have the cop watch team and the de-escalation team come there, but because I don't think that none of us should be put in harm's way trying to defuse someone with a gun or a situation that could be very dangerous. It's not for us to respond to situations like that. And I'm gonna pass the mic and let someone tell you about the teams that's involved and a little bit what they do. And Fabiola can tell you some of the things she do. And Kiana, you ain't got to tell that part. Okay. They can talk about them.
All right. I'm gonna pull out my phone because my memory is really bad. So I make sure I don't forget all of the teams. But give me 1 second.
You want to get it for everyone?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to her.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Fariha. I'm with East of the River Mutual Aid at DC IWOG, and with Peace House DC, which is the longest standing activist collective in DC. We're in Deanwood, Ward 7. I'm very happy to be here, and I wanted to just announce that when we say these things like we don't fuck with cops, we don't want we don't want to have police, we don't want to have more restrictions in our communities, we always think, but what else is out there, right? So those questions are slowly being answered when people are come together and we envision something different. They might not be immediately perfect, we don't have all the answers immediately, but together we can learn these things step by step and we can create the alternative. So I'm very happy, I'm very honored actually being in this 9 month security training, like I always thought I know so many things, and then I'm like, wait a second, slow down. You don't know everything. You need to learn even more. And even after 9 months, you know, one of the biggest things I have learned is like, don't ever like put yourself in harm's way. Make sure that, you know, you're not out there alone, because I used to do that a lot where I'm like, oh my God, I see someone getting fucked over by cops. I gotta run over there and I gotta put myself right, you know. And like learning that could be even bringing other people more in danger by me being reactionary, by me being like hopping into every situation. Like, so learning all these little things helps me a lot be a better community member, like in my community. So, and jail support is one of the things we're doing since 2016. We do community jail support. So we don't just do that for activists who are protesting. We believe that the front lines are out there all the time. We have people here who have done jail support with us right there. You can get up. Yes, you. Wave over here. So jail support every Saturday. We need more people. Please, if you're interested in jail support, see us in front of Superior Court 500 Indiana between 1 and 6. Or you can just send us a message, DC IWOC, DC Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Yeah, so that's a big thing within the DC Safety Squad, right? Like when we talk about our teams, being a direct responder to a crisis is a lot, and it takes a lot. So one of the things that we like to reiterate to folks that are interested in, like, you know, supporting the work, they agree, you know, we don't need the police to respond to crisis. There are teams that do work within the DC Safety Squad that don't require, you know, immediate response. You don't have to be a person to like be there at the scene of a crisis and do what the responders will do. So doing things like jail support, doing things like court watch, doing things like mutual aid, encampment work, all play a role in how we are reimagining safety and rebuilding alternatives to the systems that already exist, because we're taking care of each other, right? We're showing up for each other, we're supporting each other. So my name's Vicky. I'm sorry I didn't say that earlier. I'm the lead organizer for the DC Safety Squad and the Harriets Responders. So Harriets Responders is the team within the Safety Squad that really powers the whole function of responding, right? So Harriets Responders does direct action. We do protest, we do rally, anything that is considered, you know, community defense, physically showing up in the community. So folks that are in our responders team are the people that are getting the trainings. We're getting the mental health training, we're getting the narcon training, we're getting cop watch, de-escalation, all the trainings that folks need to have in order to respond to whichever emergent crises people in our community are facing. And patch is really important for that because it will literally tell us who we need to send and who we need to make sure is trained to respond to whichever crisis, right?
Can you, I know what patch is, but patch is connected to Raheem?
Yes, so Raheem is a nonprofit organization that has actually built out an infrastructure that is going to function as like an alternative to 911 that is community based and super secure and safe for like communities, encrypted for community organizations specifically. So they built it for people like us that are trying to support the community and show up for community without police involvement. So it's basically an app that within it, when somebody calls in and says like, we need help, there's this crisis, the dispatcher on the phone will type in exactly what information this person is telling them so that when they contact us, we know exactly where to go, who to send, and what they need. So say somebody calls and is like, yo, like there's a domestic violence dispute and we don't know what to do. We don't want the police to show up. We need somebody to come and de-escalate, right? So we'll probably send out people who are trained to de-escalate situations. We'll probably send our cop watchers with them as well. If police are on scene, we'll send like all illegal observers, right? So based on the scenario, we will send folks from various teams. But also we want to make sure that we're reiterating that it's not just about the initial response to a crisis. It's also how do we set up systems of care after we've immediately addressed a crisis, immediately after, you know, we've shown up, we help them de-escalate the situation. what happens afterwards, right? We want to make sure that the care isn't just like stopped there, right? Because sometimes we'll respond to a crisis and unfortunately maybe this community member does end up getting arrested. That's when we lean into other forms of care, right? We have our cop watchers there. They've seen what's happened. Oh, okay, I was just making sure. They've seen what's happened. Now they can then in turn turn and be like, this is the loved one that just got arrested. This is their name. You know, maybe at part of Cop Watch, obviously, is like to make sure you get the loved one or community member's name, and possibly like a phone number or something to contact in case afterwards. Then we'll call our court watchers or we'll call our movement lawyers to then make sure there's care for them after whichever crisis we have responded to. And some of the other teams, just so I can name so I don't forget, and then I'll pass it over to Kiana. We also have mutual aid, encampment, we have street medics, harm reduction, which is HIPs, like, you know, the Narcon. We also have, like, you know, healers and therapists. People experience trauma, right? People who do this work also experience trauma. So it's really important that we are looking after each other, we're taking care of each other, and we're making sure, like, resources are available. There's also, like, pastoral support. They respond to a lot of community crisis as well and offer comfort and spiritual grounding. Trigger Project. Gun violence is a big issue in DC, right? And Trigger Project is working to denormalize and destigmatize gun violence in the communities as well. And then Black Swan Academy, which is our youth community partner. They work a lot with the youth. They're doing great work with the youth. If you don't know them, I suggest looking up Black Swan Academy as well. They do a lot of civic leadership engagement with the youth and giving them the tools that they need to then in turn do the work we're doing as adults, right? So I'll pass it over to Kiana to talk a little bit about Court Watch.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Hey. How many people know what happens after you get arrested? Raise your hand. Okay, great.
A lot of us, because you taught us that.
So you know what happens after you get arrested? You go to court, right? There's only one way out. And if MPD is not beating your ass or trying to kill you, then they're going to send you over to the prosecutors, and that's where you're going to go to court. Court watching and court support are two different things, but they're both very important, and they're both things that we provide under Court Watch DC. Court support usually goes like this. You get a text message, somebody's been locked up, such and such mother or brother has been locked up. Kiana, what are we going to do? What time is court? When do they have to be there? How do we get there? What do we do once we get there, right? And we do things like make sure and apply pressure to the prosecutor and the judges to make sure that they are doing, but they're letting our people go, right? Let me just say that, right? They're letting our people go. So that is basically what court. How many people have actually court watched in here before?
Oh.
All right. Good. Okay, well, that's good. If you haven't court watched, right now court watching is happening, court watching happen virtually in DC. So you can watch court from your cell phone. So we do have trainings once a month now on Thursdays. So if you are interested in becoming trained as a court support or court watcher, please sign up so that you can become trained in court watching, because it's very, very important. So many people will go to court each and every day, and more than likely, if you're sitting in this room and count the fourth person in this room will probably be arrested throughout their lifetime. So it's 1 in 4 folks that will actually have to go through the criminal legal system. So what we're here to do is demystify it, and so that people can go through it in ways and come out on the other side and get free.
You know, I wanted to ask, because I know we're going to get into the film soon. When you're doing court watch, I know you are often also doing court watch for folks who've been protesting. Y'all have done a lot of support, especially through 2020, after 2020. I'm wondering if anyone could share a little bit about, the impact of that and kind of ways that y'all have kept each other safe. Using court watch when it comes to repression of protesting.
Oh yeah, we had Kevin's case. Kevin was at a protest and got into it with police officer Bagshaw. And he got into it with him, and it turned out really ugly. He left there with about 4 charges of APO, which is assault on a police officer, which is a very infamous charge here in Washington D.C. MPD uses APO charges when they have nothing else in their toolbox, and it's usually their word against yours. And Kevin, you know, so and please don't do this. Kevin just threw some leaves up in the air, and the police officer said that was assault, and that he wanted to hurt him and kill him with leaves. And it took a long time. Like, they were serious. I'm laughing now, but we were not laughing while we were trying to go through this. And so to answer your question, like, it took months to actually go through the video camera, the body cameras, and to actually navigate through our PD, participatory defense, where we would go through and go back and forth with the attorney, with the prosecutors in the case. They like had plea deals on the table for the shit, right? And so it was horrible until we finally, y'all can clap after I say this, until we finally got those charges dropped. And so it was like really hell. Just, you were at a protest, you left, you ate your breakfast, you went to a protest, and you did not think that going to this protest meant you were not going to come home. And so this was a loved one who's in community with us, and we were able to, because we have an apparatus already in place and we have community members who do this and are trained, we're able to go right into action when someone who is a community member gets incarcerated. And that's important because we stay ready, so we ain't got to get ready, right? And that's important because they already ready. The prosecutors, they come in with their briefcases, they ready, they got them charges already ready to go. But having us as court watchers and court support ready to go when that signal chat come through and say, log on at such and such time, and we got 100, Kevin had 107 people logged on to his court case. Y'all can clap for that. So they saw the pressure, they saw the community, and them prosecutors and judges be a little scared.
Yeah, they get nervous.
They
know
get nervous.
They know who Court Watch DC is. They know.
Y'all, can y'all give it up for our panelists right now?
Just before we close out, there's a court watching training on June 15th.
Thank you for the date.
June 15th at 7 p.m. If you have not been court watch trained, I challenge everyone in here to do that. You can go to mobilize.us/HWD, and the training will be linked there.
Yes. And folks are gonna be able to hear from you after the film a little bit too.
Thank you.
So y'all give it up for them. All right, let's try take 2. All right, go ahead. I got you. You okay? No. Yes? No. I don't understand. I'm not frustrated. It was just, I just didn't understand. That's all.
What are you doing? Y'all have not seen the scene in background stuff? Thank you. Y'all wasn't gonna disrespect me. And your culture, yeah.
Collaboration between Movement for Black Lives and CLEAR, the Creating Law Enforcement Accountability and Responsibility Project. M4BL is a national network of leaders and organizations creating a broad political home for Black people to learn, organize, and take action. M4BL includes grassroots organizations, activists, organizers, academics, lawyers, educators, health workers, artists, and more. All unified in a radical vision for Black liberation and working for equity, justice, and healing. For more than a decade, CLEAR has worked to fight back against law enforcement policies and practices disproportionately targeting Muslim and or Black activists, as well as other communities under the guise of national security. U.S. law enforcement agencies have a long history of targeting organizers and activists working in defense of Black lives, including Angela Davis, Fred Hampton, and Assata Shakur, just to name a few. Agents, officers, and detectives are known to try to question people at home, at the workplace, in organizing spaces near or at places of worship, in jail, by phone, and in other ways, all to collect information about activists and movements. This practice can sow fear and distrust among activists, disrupting important organizing work. Being approached by law enforcement can be intimidating. Remember that you hold the power in those encounters. This video will illustrate how to use that power to protect yourself and your movement. In this video, we will see 3 examples of common law enforcement tactics and ways you can protect yourself and your movement during these encounters. Remember that there are many different law enforcement agencies at the federal, state, and local levels. What this video will go over applies regardless of which law enforcement agency is approaching you. We know that law enforcement officers sometimes use threats of breaking down the door and other violence as a tactic to intimidate individuals into giving consent. In some situations, law enforcement also claims the authority to enter a home without knocking and announcing their presence first. Organizers across the country also are working to abolish no-knock warrants like the one used at Amir Locke and Breonna Taylor's home. Here we have 3 roommates and 3 separate visits from different law enforcement agencies: the FBI, Immigration, aka ICE, and the local police department. Let's see how our first roommate handles the situation.
Oh. Hey, good morning, sir. Sorry to disturb you. Agent Bullitt, FBI. This is Agent Williams, and this is Agent Rayford. Sorry to disturb you. Come to our attention that you've been victim of identity fraud.
What?
It'd be a lot easier if we stepped inside, if that's okay.
About my credit card?
Let us step inside here for a second.
Come on in.
Wow. This place is dope, huh, guys?
Yeah.
This is real nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How can I help you?
Mind if I sit down?
Sure.
Oh, thanks. So how are we doing this morning?
I'm tired, but I'm alright.
Oh, yeah, it is quite early, so I guess I'll just cut right to the chase. What do you know about Emmanuel Washington?
Emmanuel Washington?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know Emmanuel Washington.
He goes by Manny, Emmy, Manny Wash.
I know this guy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe at the end of this our interview here, maybe you will remember. Okay. So tell me, what do you do to occupy your time during the day?
I'm a student, and I work at a restaurant.
Which restaurant do you work at?
Tavern on the Hill.
Oh, what do you do there?
I'm a server.
You're a surfer?
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
It's good food.
Oh, we should come by.
Yeah,
What
you should.
are
It's
you
on
over
Fourth
there?
Hey, why are you touching that?
I'm wondering how a server can afford such expensive art. That's all.
It's a gift.
Oh, it's a gift, huh?
It's a gift.
It's a gift from who?
My mother.
For your birthday?
Graduation.
For graduation? I thought you were already going to school.
I go to college.
Oh, you go to college. Okay, so, well, what are you studying in college?
Engineering.
Oh, engineering.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, what's your engineering? Me?
Yeah, nothing but a pig.
So you got weed, you got money. Yeah,
That ain't mine.
yeah.
That's not even mine.
Can you say that?
What are you looking around my house for?
Yeah, we're gonna have to go ahead and take you in.
Bring me in.
Yeah, you're under
I
arrest.
see what you said. I see what you
You're
said.
resisting arrest?
I can't
Don't
take me in.
resist arrest,
What are you
sir.
doing to me?
You're an assault officer.
Hey, yo!
And you're coming on down to the office.
Come on with us.
I'm not going nowhere with y'all.
Let's go, let's
I'm not going nowhere with y'all. I'm not going nowhere with y'all.
Come on.
Oh.
Hey, good morning, sir.
In our first scenario, we saw what can happen when you're caught off guard and unprepared. Roommate number 1 broke golden rule number 1. Do not open the door. There are only 2 ways that law enforcement can lawfully enter your home. with a valid search warrant, or with your consent. In some instances, their request for consent can seem like an order or demand. For example, open the door. Opening the door can be considered giving your consent, or could even allow officers to rush in, putting anyone inside at risk. A good rule to go by is that if the law enforcement is asking for your consent, they need your consent and cannot lawfully enter or search your home otherwise. Do not give it to them. Law enforcement agents can be polite, minimize the severity of their questions, or outright lie to entice you into feeling comfortable about giving them information or permission to enter and search your home. Once inside, law enforcement can document any and everything they see in plain sight and use it to arrest you now or later, and pressure you into working for them as an informant. Opening the door will also allow law enforcement to see, hear, and smell whatever may be happening inside your apartment.
What do you know about Emmanuel Washington?
Emmanuel Washington? I don't even know Emmanuel Washington.
He goes by Manny, Emmy, Manny Wash.
I don't know this guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it a crime for law enforcement to lie to you? No. Is it a crime for you to lie to them? Yes. By answering questions about specific dates, times, and seemingly insignificant details, you could unintentionally incriminate yourself, someone else, or undermine the movement's organizing efforts. Individuals who are formerly incarcerated and who are out on parole or probation are obligated to let their parole or probation officers into their home for home visits, curfew check, or any other condition of parole imposed on you. How you engage with your PO during these interactions may depend on your relationship with them and the conditions of your parole or probation. Let's see how roommate 2 handles their interactions with law enforcement.
Hello?
Hi, man. Agent Fuller, FBI.
And I'm Agent Smith with Homeland Security.
Hello?
I didn't get your name.
I'm Nadia. Nadia Tucson.
Okay. Interesting. Where are you from?
I'm from Haiti.
Yeah, do you have any documentation?
Yeah, would you like me to get it?
Yes, please
Yeah.
do.
Green card.
Yeah. Hey, do you mind if we step inside real quick?
I'm not really comfortable.
5 minutes, 5 minutes.
I'm not really sure. I'm sorry.
5 minutes. Well, what do we have here? M4BL. Is that some sort of black identity extreme group?
I support it. The burden is now on you to prove the status. And I'm knocking on your door to institute an immigration arrest warrant. Confirming your name is enough for them to pick you up and warrant you your name.
Black identity extremism?
Your only response to any questions from law enforcement should be, I will not answer any questions without my lawyer. Even if you don't have a lawyer on retainer, CLEAR serves as counsel for M4BL and can step in as law enforcement approaches to any claim. Most people think that possible deniability is the best response when under pressure to respond to law enforcement, or that I don't know is not a response at all. The reality is, I don't know is the response, and it proves to be false, and expose an individual to a brief intimidation practice by law enforcement. Exercise your right to refuse to answer any questions, no matter what law enforcement says or does. Use the power you have to keep your county to protect yourself and your group. Our final ruling will show us how to minimize risk as much as possible when law enforcement is trying to respond. Exercise your right to refuse to enter any country, whether law enforcement thinks you're right or not, no matter what they say or do, or even if they bring you on. If you're under arrest, it's even more important to stick to the rule and to clearly assert your right not to be possessed of. Satisfy these rules and assert your right at any time or any direction, even if you've already started speaking or have already heard the officer.
I'm not talking to you anymore unless you get annoyed.
Contact CLEAR directly if you are searching for free advice.
All the folks who were a part of that and answered that random email. All right, so y'all, I'd love for folks to turn to a neighbor, and please share.
Bottom line is you never got to open the door.
To then go back right again.
I would call y'all anyway.
Thank you.
One of the big ones that I really do not open the door. Like I already knew, hey, don't let the cops inside your house. But the fact that even if the moment the door is open, they have leeway to just bust in, that was really eye-opening. So now knowing, don't open the door, don't crack it, don't keep it locked, do not open the door. Because even if they're outside, as soon as the door is open, they'll just come in, they can come in. So do not open the door. That's a really big one that I learned.
Thank you.
I'll be good. I'll be good. Okay, how you doing? Oh, the Oscar goes to my daughter. No, it was a couple of things in there that hit a nerve, and one is just how evil police can be. You know, the way that cop said, "Oh, did you go to this event?" And she said no, and then he said, "You're lying to a federal officer, and that's 5 years." What they do after that is despicable when they have something on you. You know, they can force you to inform for them. It's a lot of things, you know. So it's really good. It's a very important video, you know, because you'd be surprised just how evil they can be. And a lot of times they be illegal. They be illegal themselves, and they'll offer you the opportunity to do something and make fast money, and then as soon as they get the ball to get you, they destroy you.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Okay. I want to hear from, is there anyone else who wants to share your reflection? Oh, yeah. All right, cool. I want to come on, Marilyn.
I think something that stuck with me was the ID, showing them an ID. Especially since a lot of my family are migrants, so they may not have that paperwork to show. So I'm happy that I got that information that they don't need to show their ID and have to verify themselves as a citizen or as I would be there.
Thank you. All right, y'all. I want to invite Iman and Princess onto the we can share it. Okay, so would y'all be down to introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about how, what was your part in the creating of the film?
Iman. My name is Iman. I use all pronouns. Security director at M4BL. I was kind of like producer, creative director. I don't know. Yeah, we did everything.
Except for act.
Yeah, except for act. We really just came up with the scenarios. The video is based on a Know Your Rights training that CLEAR does, and we've asked CLEAR to do this training like so many times in a year, especially in like 2020, to add capacity and support us in that way. We just asked them to do it so many times, and we were like, let's make a video. So that's really where the idea came from, and what the training is, or what the video is based on.
Yeah, and just to build on that, I think that, like the partnership between CLEAR and the movement for really kind of ramped up in the wake of the summer 2020 uprisings. And yeah, we were collaborating with M4BL to do kind of live legal security trainings for various kind of iterations, or sorry, various kind of groups within the movement, grassroots groups, and also like leadership, etc. And so, you know, we did those, and also in the wake of the 2020 uprisings, we put out some resources as well, jointly related to, you know, how to, or some pointers in terms of figuring out if there might be like an informant in your organization, you know, how to protect against, I think, misinformation, and also similar to this, like how to protect yourself from law enforcement. And so I think, yeah, this just like very naturally kind of fit into that work that we've been doing, and the partnership that we built, or you know, that had been built between CLEAR and the movement. And you know, I think also just for CLEAR and for me, you know, as attorneys who are supporting movements, I think one of the things that we always think about is like, how do we democratize the law? How do we make sure that the law doesn't just remain in our hands, and that this rights information doesn't remain in our hands, but actually goes to the people who needs it, the people on the front lines, etc. And so, you know, I think that this was kind of one thing that we were thinking, you know, like kind of in that kind of lens of trying to democratize the law. So, yeah.
One more thing I'll say is like the audience that we were thinking of for this video is like member orgs of M4BL, and so you know the Harriets Water Stream is a member, and so anyone inside of Harriets Water Stream would be able to contact M4BL or contact CLEAR and receive that free consultation support or training. Anyone inside of, yeah, so anyone connected to Harriets Water Stream, this applies to. So I just wanted to make that.
Oh, and if I just, because we haven't said it explicitly, I don't think, like, yeah, shout out to, you know, like the producer, directors who we worked with, Six and Adebayo, and also the actors as well, so shout out to all of them. And then, yes, one of them in our midst, so, yeah.
I'm curious, so the situations that we saw, the scenarios, they were scripted, right? They were written up. There was a little bit that was said about this, you know, in the cases of like Breonna Taylor. You know, what happens when the cops are not following the law? You know, just curious about that, if y'all have anything to say.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that that is an important question, because we know that, right, like law enforcement does not follow the law, and oftentimes, yeah, it's just kind of just doing whatever they want in terms of harming communities. And so, you know, I think that the advice in that kind of situation with a no-knock warrant is different. Like, you know, there's a question of whether there is any kind of de-escalation technique that would actually work in that kind of scenario. You know, one of the things that we think could be helpful is to, if they are in your home, just ask, like, do I have to be here? Am I free to leave? And, you know, like, if they say yes, then, and there's a safe way for you to leave, then, like, you know, that is something that I've seen clients do in my work at CLEAR. They've been able to leave that kind of situation. But again, like, we're not in that situation. Y'all will know best in terms of, you know, your own safety. And even, you know, one thing that I'll just add a little color on in terms of the video, and one of the golden rules, right? Rule number 1, don't open the door, right? Sometimes we have, you know, like young children, we have any reason why we feel pressure to open the door for law enforcement, right? And so again, you know yourself best in that situation. This is a golden rule, but you can't always apply it. And so, you know, I think one way to reduce harm, you know, if you actually feel like they're going to break down your door, or you just, you know, want to step out, is to just open your door, step out, then close the door right behind you, so that you're just outside. They cannot see into your home, they do not have access into your home, and you're just talking one-on-one to them, right? So that would be kind of a reductive kind of thing, the harm, you know, a way to reduce harm in that particular scenario.
I have a question, Navigator speaking. I have a question about, like, say, like, if you're in your vehicle, because I know, like, we're watching Cops or other Cop 12 related shows. So we take questions already?
You are totally fine. I just want to say that, Princess, whatever you want to share, and then I also know we have some like intelligence in the room too.
All right, I do have a question though. As far as like say like if you're in your vehicle, like how is the laws, is the parameters very similar if you're in your vehicle as well?
It's a good question. So it is different, and I think unfortunately there's just not enough time in this video to kind of fit all of the different kind of environments that you could come into contact with law enforcement. But I think that the rules are different. The rules are also different, honestly, if you're a passenger versus a driver in the car. But I think, maybe we can talk about that more afterwards, or I don't know.
Well, I'm curious for folks in the crowd, if especially for DC and Maryland area, have a response about our safety when it comes to being stopped by the cops and being in a car.
I just want to note that I've actually been in a situation like this before. And so what they will do if they know you won't answer the door, sometimes they'll wait until you come outside. And they'll sit in their cars, or they'll go around the corner, and then they'll wait for you to get in your car, and then they'll pull you over shortly. So I just want to put that out there, because when they know that you know the law, they know that you are not going to let them in, then a lot of the times they'll have their SWAT, or they'll have their team as soon as you get in your car, and then you'll be right in the situation that we talked about. So just wanted to put that out there as well.
So you're saying, do they have to, and they got to follow the law once you're in your car? When they say get out the car, you have to get out the car.
Yeah, so if you have to get out the car. The police officers waited for me to go get in my car. They really sat there for hours. They knew I wasn't opening the door. They sat there for hours. They waited for me to get in my car. As soon as I got in my car and made a left, they were on the other street, and they just pulled me over, and they had to comply then. So just wanted to put that out there, because the police do lie, and they don't follow the rules. More than likely, they're not going to follow the rules that are set out before you. And so just understanding that at that point, you're really trying to preserve as much as your rights as you can, and as much evidence as you can for when you go to court, because that's what's going to end up probably happening. So you want to just keep repeating yourself over and over again and saying, I do not consent, I do not consent, because when or if they take you away or lock you up, then you now have something to give to your defense attorney to say, hey, look, I told them not to do this. I told them I didn't consent. I told them this, and now at this point you have preserved your rights, and you can usually win your case, hopefully, if you do those things, even though the police are doing what they shouldn't be doing. Thank you, Kiki.
Real quick. You know what they do? They knock on your door. When you say, I'm not going to open my door, the first thing they do is threaten you. They threaten you. And they say, look, Mr. Joseph, if you don't answer your door, then we're going to have to come back with a warrant. And when we come back for a warrant, it's not going to be good for you. So they use fear tactics to try to make you open your door. This is what I point out. They threaten you.
I'm curious, so with everything that's going on, you talked about how 2020 inspired a lot of these, requests for Know Your Rights trainings. I know I was one of those people asking for different trainings. We saw activists getting different federal charges. And then also recently with the Cop City protest, I think it was over 40 people were getting domestic terrorism charges, or they were being threatened about it. And this is for folks at the front, but also if there's intelligence in the room. I'm curious, what does that mean for us as activists? We do so much to build campaigns to contest for power in the way that's happening in Atlanta, and then we see these, domestic terrorism charges. So I'm just curious, how does that impact your work? Is there anything that folks should know with these changes?
Yeah, so I think that Cop City is just a very kind of prime example of how protest policing has really become very kind of inextricably linked to the government's counterterrorism apparatus, where, like you're saying, right, we're seeing so many protesters, over 40 at this point, who have been charged under state law with domestic extremism. But I think it's also important to know that this isn't just happening on one level of the government, so it's happening at the state level, it's also happening at the federal level. So with Cop City remaining the example here, like it came out through Freedom of Information Act requests that the FBI had been monitoring protesters involved in the Cop City movement, labeling I think that what they were describing them as was I wrote it down because I also have bad memory. Anarchist violent extremists, and that they were kind of monitoring the protest or the movement as part of like a larger assessment of anarchist extremism. And so, I think there you can kind of see the ways that it's happening on all of these levels. And I think one thing to look out for, at least that I've seen, is that these calls that are being made for an expansion of the terrorism framework to combat white supremacy and quote-unquote domestic terrorism. I think even from liberals or whatever people on the left, there's a lot of talk about, oh my God, like if we expand this expand this counterterrorism framework of the government, then it's going to cure this problem of white supremacy, and we just know that that's not the case, right? It's going to continue to prey on, Black and brown communities, and we've already seen that. And so, I think that that's something that I think we just need to be on the lookout for, is those kinds of calls.
You bring up what you're saying kind of inspires me, motivates me to think about what are some of the lessons. I know there's some, a lot of our folks have been supporting freedom fighters who have been locked up for a long time. The film talks about this a little bit. I'm curious if there's any intelligence in the room around, when you're supporting folks who are currently on the inside, who are there for protesting, movement building, and things like that. Are there things that we need to be learning, right? We're talking about how do we protect ourselves now, and we also have our folks who are currently on the inside. So I was wondering if there's any reflections or things that we could learn, if anyone wants to share. I know y'all know who I'm talking about.
This is such a tricky question. You're like, do you know people inside that you're supporting right now? Tell us all about it.
No. But I'm just saying, is there any lessons that we should know?
So sometimes it can be difficult. You need to be really aware of what you say while you're communicating, because all communication tools are being extremely surveilled. Like even the letters. Sometimes when you send a letter, you're like, I'm not using email, I'm sending a letter. It could go to a third facility and they copy your letter before the incarcerated person gets your letter. It could be you're writing things. I've seen people, I think the English word is retracting words out of whatever you're writing. Redacting? Yes, so that can happen. So you need to be really careful of how you're saying, and kind of sometimes learning maybe to speak in code a little bit, like be smart about how you say the things, because you can have comrades inside who then suffer from the things you are saying to them, and the next thing you know, you can't call someone, they can't call anyone, and they're in the hole, they're in solitaire or something again, things like that.
Thank you. Can I add one thing to that?
Yes, you can.
Just that if you are supporting someone inside and they communicate with you in other ways, just be mindful when they are on like the prison phone around what you're saying and how you might be hinting at what else they might be doing that maybe they're not entirely allowed to do. It's really easy to slip up, and you just have to actually always have your brain very much so on and aware of what consequences could look like for them on the inside for anything that you might be talking about, even if it feels like a regular part of your everyday communication or life with them.
Yeah, thank y'all. I just feel like when we're talking about how we protect ourselves, right, and protect ourselves from going into cages, we also have to uplift the work of our folks who are in cages. And so I'm curious, you know, we've heard from the DC Safety Squad, we're hearing about, you know, these kind of the golden rules. What's next for this kind of film? How can we spread more of this information across DC, the organizing we have, and across the country?
Well, my hope is, you know, like M4BL has been in partnership with CLEAR. I hope to, you know, be in closer partnership with Harriets Stream and DC Safety Squad and support what they're building out. And yeah, really collaborate around the community first responder work and training. Yeah, and just really support what's being built here or what already exists here, and seeing the you know, getting familiar with the patch network and seeing how that's implemented and rolled out. I'm just really inspired by what DC Safety Squad has built. I was able to join a call earlier this month, and it was like so many people on the call, and so many, you could just see that there was just so much work happening and so much care and concern for the community. Yeah, it was just very inspiring, and yeah, I just hope to support the DC Safety Squad and what they're building out.
Hey, give it up for DC Safety Squad, y'all. And also give it up for Mom Princess. Thank you so much for bringing this film to us. There's definitely this connection between the activist safety. We want to decrease our interactions with police. We want to keep people out of cages, as well as we want to defund the police and abolish police in prisons, as well as we have to show up for our people because trauma and harm is still happening. So putting ourselves in the places where we need to be is a deeply interconnected work. And so with time, I want to thank everyone for showing up tonight, for being patient with us, for learning. If you registered, we actually already have your information. So welcome to the fam. We will have some follow-up communication, so you can have links to this Court Watch training, links to any offerings from M4BL and CLEAR and DC Safety Squad. Do you want to share what our next steps are?
Yeah, I think we'll just follow up and email with more information.
Yes.
And okay.
So I was gonna say that we were having a mixer upstairs.
Oh yes.
Yes.
My bad.
So we're gonna do announcements. So for folks who have like any community announcements, and then after that on the rooftop, Wild Days, we have a reserved space, and there'll be complimentary food, drinks on you. But yes, so after announcements, you can walk this way, head to the rooftop. You know, let's have a little fun together.
Can I just say one last thing?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, because I haven't said this explicitly, even though it was in the video. Yeah, so if you ever find yourself in any situation like this, you know, CLEAR is available as a resource. Please don't hesitate to reach out. You know, we've intervened, you know, countless times now when it's come, you know, not only to even just people who are involved in, you know, the fight for Black liberation, but also like our work, you know, really started in the wake of 9/11. So a lot of work with the Muslim, Arab, South Asian, Black communities as well in that kind of area. And yeah, all of our legal services, or all of CLEAR's legal services, are free of cost. So yeah, feel, you know, don't hesitate to reach out.
Is there a number or email or something?
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh, and sorry. Good reminder. Yes. So we brought some pamphlets there as well, which go over similar information to the video, and also
are y'all national?
Sorry.
Are y'all national?
Yeah, so we've supported groups like across the U.S. for sure. I mean, it's usually in that case, like when it comes to like federal law enforcement bothering communities. But if we can't help you, let's say it's like a local police.
Oh, because it's federal, right? So,
yeah. If it's federal and there's like, I hate to use this term, but there's no conflict of interest, then we will be able to, CLEAR will be able to, provide free legal representation. If it's something on the state level and you're not in New York, which is where CLEAR is based, then it's then we or then CLEAR would likely like connect y'all to resources that are local to you, local counsel, etc. Who ideally. The way that CLEAR works also is it works as a legal clinic at CUNY School of Law, so we have like a good network of, alumni, former students who, we've trained up, and so they know, how to handle these situations.
Do y'all have lawyers locally here?
I actually left back in January, so I don't know like what.
I think we also DC. I mean, I think when we think about like some of the other places that M4BL is in, maybe wouldn't have the same infrastructure. But I know that even within Harriets Water Streams and Life After Release, the Movement Lawyer Project, we have a breadth of local support, and it's also really great to know that we also have some folks that can flank us on a federal as well, because as Kiana says, you can never have enough lawyers. Okay?
I can vouch for I've hit up CLEAR on behalf of like organizations that we've trained in direct action and gotten their advice. They've just like connected me to folks in different places, or sometimes CLEAR has sometimes proactively reached out because they saw something that people were planning and they were like, can you connect us to this group in this area, and folks have shown up. So
Oh yeah, and then that's like the other thing is like, if you do have lawyers in your network but you feel like they're not necessarily equipped to handle these particular kinds of scenarios, then that's also a space where I think CLEAR would be open to trying to do like some kind of training for those lawyers, so that again it's like sharing the best practices of how to deal with this situation.
All right. Do you have anything? Okay, so let's do announcements and then let's party.
So first off, I just want y'all to follow. We're doing a lot of stuff. The majority of the DC Safety Squad's, DC Safety Squad trainings is at mobilize.us/HWD. And you're going to find out a lot of other stuff we're doing, because we're doing some dope shit here in DC.
Yeah.
We freeing out people. And with that being said, because y'all came out tonight, I'm going to offer you all, because we got a cutoff right now with the DC Safety Squad, because we're intentional about our work, and we're not adding nobody else onto the squad right now until we get everybody trained up who want to be trained up. But because you're here tonight, and if you want to be involved, right here in this building on Wednesday, we got to Stop the Bleed training. But you have to be in the DC Safety Squad to be a part of the squad. Where right now, if you live in DC, we have so much gun violence going on right now in DC that we're actually doing a Stop the Bleed training. And so we're going to need people to know how to actually show up for our communities. And it's a first aid and knock-on training too. But the main thing right now is Stop the Bleed. So if you all are interested, joining the safety squad and want to do that, then you can't do the training if you ain't in the safety squad. Just saying. So thank y'all.
Any other announcements?
Anybody else have an announcement?
1, 2, 3. All right then.